What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC, the channel where we talk everything EDC gear here. And today I have another review video for you. This time we're reviewing this knife right here. Of course, this is the new Piratech Kraken. Got a chance to unbox this one in the channel here some time ago. I've been carrying it since, and I'm finally ready to drop a comprehensive review. Just trying to share with you guys everything I've been able to compile, what my experience has been like, all the feedback I've been able to put together, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything else in between. First things first, I want to give a shout out to Lefty EDC for the opportunity to check this one out. So if you haven't checked out Lefty's channel, this will be a great time to do so. He makes awesome EDC knife content and EDC content like this in his channel as well. And I want to say this knife and every other knife that you see in this video will be linked down below in the description. Now, it does help out the channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. I'm not currently affiliated with Piratech in any way, shape, or form, but I'll still go ahead and link it down in the description anyway, just like every other knife. With those affiliate links, if you do make a purchase through them, it helps out the channel. With that in mind, let's go ahead and find my stuff, which is nowhere near where it needs to be for a review video. All right, first things first, let's do a quick size measurement on this bad boy. We have an overall, oh, check that out. This might be a hint as to what we're working with on this one. A little bit of a magnetism is the key. So overall length at 7.65, right? Let go of my measuring tape, thank you. The blade here is going to be a total of around 3 1/4 with a total cutting edge of 3 1/4 as well. And the handle is going to be a total of around a little bit under 4.45 inches. Of course, we're dealing with a medium to large knife here, so we'll do some size comparisons as well. Here's your PM2. All right, check that out. And your Para 3. So it's a little bit shorter than the PM2 and a tad bit bigger than the Para 3. Some people have been saying that this is somewhat of a crossover between the Sabensa and the 940, but you know, you guys be the judge right there. So here it is next to the Demko AD 20.5 on top and the new Shark Cub at the bottom. It is actually a tad bit larger than the AD 20.5. Check it out right there. It does have a S90V sheep's foot blade, and it is a stonewash finish, right? Check it out here next to the Civivi Vision FG and the Sentinel Strike. So it's actually a little smaller than the Vision FG and significantly smaller than the Strike right there. All right, take a look. And the Kraken does have titanium scales on here, which do have a little bit of a trick up its sleeve. And last but not least, here is the CJRB Pyrite on top and the Raccoon at the bottom. So pretty much right on par, maybe with the Raccoon right there. Very, very comparable. You guys be the judge. So what do we have going on for materials on this one? We have titanium scales, right? These are interesting in a number of ways. We'll talk more about them in just a moment. Titanium pocket clip. And then we do have stonewash sheep's foot S90V blade right there, right? So check that out. This one has a good amount of jimping going on it right there. Has even a little section right here, which, you know, you can rest your index finger. We're doing some precise cuts. Of course, you could do utility cuts, drag cuts, X-Acto knife cuts with this thing all day, every day, making use of that tip right there. S90V, of course, I'm a huge fan of. You know, good stainless steel properties, and it has an insane edge retention. It's not super duper tough, but you know, the other aspects of it really make up for it, which is okay in my book. Again, really like it, really enjoy it. It can be a little bit challenging to sharpen, but other than that, you know, it's a pretty good high-end steel, no doubt about that. A fan favorite for the most part. So this one is finished on the stonewash here. I do believe this was a first production only. They are making a new production right now. That one is on a satin finish, right? That one has a satin finish going on instead. So more to come on that here in just a moment. What's interesting about the scales, and you probably saw this coming from other videos, and if you didn't, you're in for a treat here. I'll just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, right? That's pretty much the biggest trick. The biggest trick up its sleeve of this knife is the fact that you can swap the scales or take off the scales. You probably notice there's no screws on the show side, barely any screws. As a matter of fact, no screws on the other side either. You're like, what's going on here? Where are the screws at? Is this thing glued together, right, with some hot glue, some Gorilla Glue? What's going on? So they are swappable scales that you can take out just like so, right? This is the show side. This one has magnets right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They call this mag snap, right? They have it patented. I did realize that each scale is matched with basically the serial number for the knife. So this one is the first run, number 197, which is pretty interesting. And then the same thing can be done very easily to the other side, right? All you have to do is take off this T8 screw right there, and boom, you're good to go. You can take out the other scale as well. So this is pretty neat. I did this during the unboxing, so if you want to see that in action, right, check out the unboxing video. Great thing about these though is when they snap back in place, they are rock solid. There's no play up and down. Like the milling here to make them fit perfectly is really well executed, right? They don't rock back and forth, up and down, right? There's no wiggling, no wiggle room in there, which is good. That's the right way to do it, without a doubt. So that's pretty neat. They also come with a little certificate of authenticity, if you will. So the model is the Kraken, right? S9EV, titanium scales. Overall, length of the blade, 3.22 inches. It's pretty neat. They print the HRC, the Rockwell harness, on here. This one is 61.3, which is pretty neat. For other steels like M390, a little bit higher HRC will be good, but for S9EV, anywhere between 60 or 59 to 61 is pretty good. So that's neat. This one again, number 1 being the first run, and number 193, which you just saw matches, was stamped on the scales. So that's awesome. This one was assembled by Damon. So Piratech is pretty much a fresh new company. What sort of feels like came out of nowhere when it first came around late part of last year, 2023. And I remember, these Krakens being all the buzz. I mean, it only took me, small channel like myself, about 6 months to get my hands on it and actually be able to showcase it here for you guys. But man, oh man, is it good to have great action. It sure does. So it's pretty neat, right? And awesome that they went on their own. They have their own company. I feel like knife enthusiasts, we definitely benefit from competition quite a bit, because that forces companies to innovate, to do something different, to stand out, right, from the rest, and get us different knives. Knives are unique, to have some sort of cool factor to them, not just your typical run-of-the-mill knife every single time. So assemble date on this one, 11/3/2023. So that's pretty cool. So how's the action on this thing? So you have a crossbar lock, pretty neat. Crossbar lock action right there is as solid as you would expect. This thing is pretty locked on. There's no lock rock, no side to side, no up and down play, none of that. And you can activate it or open it with your thumb right here, right? The thumb deployment is good. Thumb studs feel good and comfortable. Same thing with the reverse flick, right? All day, every day. Let's say it does take a little bit of kind of calibrating, being able to figure out, the weight of the blade on the way back. But then it's pretty typical, just like any crossbar lock for the most part. The alignment right there is pretty spot on. Check that out. That's pretty good. Right in the middle, smack in the middle. And what's interesting too, you just saw me take it out. So when you take out the scales, you do have a filler tab right here. And that's sort of what you would swap and put on the other side instead. And you would put the pocket clip on this side. So they do have a reversible pocket clip for obviously an ambidextrous knife. That's just the right way to do it, right? Did a good job there, and that's appreciated. So lefties out there can enjoy this knife just as much as righties, right? It's only fair, since they're just as important of an enthusiast as righties are. So that's pretty cool. The edges are nice and contour all around, which is finished pretty good. So as a result, ergonomically speaking, this knife feels great in the hand, right? The only thing that I maybe feel a little bit, right, is the pocket clip. Now, it is sort of rounded in the edges or what have you, but if I really squeeze, I can tell there's a pocket clip there, right? There's no avoiding it, right? That's sort of inevitable. So I'll give this pocket clip maybe an 8 out of 10, right? Maybe an 8 out of 10. That's sort of what it feels like. Here's my hammer grip back here. Okay, I don't have the biggest hands. I don't have the smallest of hands. Average hands right there. You can sort of see, right? There's no forward choke option on this one. So this is it, unless you do this other grip right here. That's sort of what your index is meant for right there, as I mentioned earlier. And yeah, other than that, let's get a blade stock thickness here going on. I just can't remember the structure of your reviews, Miguel. Come on, some consistency, for crying out loud. 0.11 there on the thickness, right? Blade stock thickness, and the thickness of the handle there is 0.48, right? Pretty standard, right? For the most part, handles are around 1/2 inch or 0.5, and I typically see an average of blade stock thickness of 0.12. This one being 0.11 is pretty neat. This one does have a flat grind all the way up until that line, which you see right there, and this thing is slicey. We'll see it in action there during a cutting test, but this thing slices really good. Let's get a weight on this thing, and as you saw, there's quite a lot of milling on those liners on the inside, but it's also not an extra crazy light knife, and it's not an extra crazy heavy knife. It comes in at 4.2 ounces. For me, that is just fine. That is not an issue whatsoever. So feels good. Once again, 4.2 ounces on the weight there, which is good. Yeah, let me show you the milling on the inside there one more time. All right, so yes, you see that milling. The same deal is on the other side right there. And while we're here, let's just kind of get a gauge for the hardware check on this bad boy. We'll do a quick hardware check. As usual, my tools are highly recommendable and linked down below. So let's try a T8, all right? Hopefully everything is T8. The pivot certainly is T8. Could it be T9? I don't know. Could it be something odd like a T9? I don't know. That T9 fits in there nice and snug, so that might be it. And then body screws, T8 and T8. Even the pocket clip screw right there, that's a T8. And by the way, that's the only other body screw that you will need to loosen up in order to take off the other scale on the other side, which is pretty neat. Very minimal hardware, basically 2 standoffs, the pivot itself, and the pocket clip screw, and that's it. All right, everything else with magnets, which is very nice. You have good access to the Omega springs from here, which honestly, as much as people say Omega spring knives can be a little difficult to work with, right? These make it very easy right there, right? So simply just, you know, you can take it off, maintenance it, swap it. By the way, it does come with additional hardware from the factory with a set of additional Omega springs as well. These are doing pretty good amount of tension to them. So yeah, definitely can't complain right there, right? Good snappy action. Let's do a very scientific cutting test, shall we? Here we go. All right, that S90V is still holding a pretty good edge, as you can see. Yeah, nice and slicey. Yep, so it can do paper all day, every day. What about some everyday cardboard? I have a single wall diaper box cardboard right here. I'm about to do some slices. Remember, when cutting cardboard, don't cut perpendicular, but rather at an angle, like that. And boom, here we go. Yes. Oof. I can make full use of that entire cutting edge, and it is putting in some work, to say the least. Check that out. All right, you guys rate in the comments, how sharp is this guy on a scale from 1 through 10? How much of an edge has it retained? Because keep in mind, it's not brand new out of the box or anything just yet. So it definitely has seen some use so far. So what's interesting about these scales too, it won't be long. I don't know if many aftermarket companies are doing scales for the Kraken. Again, it's still fairly a brand new knife. Came out later part of last year. I know they're working on a batch 2 right now, which is available on their website, by the way. This first batch goes for $280. The second batch right now is going for $300, and it does come with a satin finish on the blade, and they have tweaked a few things about the knife, which you can check on their website. Again, it is linked down below. They also offer different swappable scales on their site. I believe they have an anodized scale for 160, and they have what they call the crystallization titanium scales for about 180 or so. So that's pretty interesting. Another thing that I like about the knife, before talking a little bit about the pet piece and stuff like that, is the billboarding department is pretty good. You do have the Kraken logo printed right here at the bottom, and that's about it. That is the company logo, and there's nothing else going on, right? They printed the steel right in there, in the tang of the blade, so S90V. It even says the number right there, 193. So this one is, again, number 193, which is pretty neat, right? They're serialized. And then it says S90V right here on the blade, if you can see it right there with the right lighting. How can we get it to show? There we go, right there, S90V. The V is a little bit worn off because, you know, obviously the crossbar lock. There's your stop pin right there for when it opens all the way. Sort of one of those special knives that if you know, you know, right? Kind of adds that cool factor, right, for a collector, that you kind of have to know what you have instead of, you know, having a whole paragraph printed on it like a Microtech or something like that. So yeah, great action on this thing. Solid lock up. The scales themselves are locked up nice and solid. There's just a good amount of tension. Like, these scales don't just come off on their own. You do have to apply a specific amount of pressure to take them off, which is neat, right? They're not just gonna fall off randomly. It's about 4 magnets in there. They do a great job at keeping those scales in place. Now, the 2 things that are somewhat a pet peeve or nitpick for me, something about these titanium scales. I'm gonna get it to where the light hits it. You can see how easy it is for it to get scratched, If you're gonna have this knife as a user and you think that this adds personality to it, then this is probably not gonna be a big issue for you. But me personally, you know, I know knives can get scratched from use, and that's fine. I don't mind that, you know, but I also take care of my tools. And if I can avoid it getting scratched up for no reason, then that's exactly what I'm gonna do. This one ended up just getting scratched very, very easily. Here's this side, there's a scratch right there on the pocket clip. Pretty much this has been echoed throughout all the other folks that have checked out the knife. For some reason, I'm not sure about the second batch, but this first batch seems like it was pretty easy to scratch. Pocket clip goes in and out of the pocket pretty good, right? And it's just about so, about that much deep carry. So not full deep carry, but pretty decent, right? And again, it is reversible, complements an ambidextrous knife really well. The only other thing that you have to keep in mind is the first batch, again, was at $280. And, you know, if you think about it, S9EV, right? That's not bad. That's a good high-end steel. You're getting titanium on the scales, which, you know, I personally like. It would have been nice to have some additional milling, right? Maybe that would have helped with the whole scratching and whatnot. Feels like this smooth titanium kind of lends itself to getting scratched up easily. So maybe doing some milled diamonds or lines or anything, right, would have been appreciated, in my opinion. I would have liked that. So the first one, 280, you know, it does have the cool swappable scales going for it. It's something unique. Not a lot of companies are doing that. I do know NAS is doing something similar with their NAS lander, right? The fact that you can swap the scales on the NAS knives pretty easily as well, but I mean, nothing like this with magnets. It's not the first time people have used magnets on knives. I mean, if you know Winter Blade Co., he takes using magnets on a knife to a whole different level. But this is a pretty cool concept. So in a way, I think in the price, you're also factoring that in. So $280 for the first run. The new run is about $300. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's getting up there. It's really getting up there for a knife. We don't know who the OEM is on this knife, but we do know it's made overseas in China. Nothing wrong with that. You know, good quality, rock solid, great tool, right? Some nitpicking stuff here and there. But, you know, maybe $300. It's a little bit steep. It really depends on your wallet, right? Your specific scenario. I would have appreciated, maybe, I think it would have been nice if it was priced maybe around $250, $260 or so. Maybe down on price instead of up in price. But, you know, that's just me. I know it's a brand new company. They're trying to get off the ground. They're trying to support, you know, all the research and development and advertising, marketing, promotion, all of that stuff. So that's important, right? So $300, I feel like anybody who buys this knife because they like what this knife brings to the table is definitely not going to be disappointed. So if this knife really checks your boxes and it's something that you have been looking forward to owning, and, you know, you have the money to spend on it, I say go right ahead, right? It's really not going to hurt you, and you're really going to enjoy the knife. Now, if you're really scratching some pennies together and you're, you know, trying to get this knife, you know, there's some other knives to consider, right? I personally recommend a lot of Kunwu knives. That's just one of my favorites. There's the Chad. You have more cutting edge diamond titanium handles. Doesn't have the gimmicky swappable scales, but it's pretty well finished. There's the Django, right? All of these are around $230 to $260 or so. And then last but not least, there's the Pulsar XL, right? All of these, again, under $260 or so on the Kunwu website. And again, that's just one brand, right? I could start finding values from other companies, right? As far as a premium knife goes, just to give you some alternatives. I do have my Vosteed RS Chaos coming in at $250 with titanium and M390 steel as well, right? These are LMAX and PM60 on the chat. Again, you know, you have something to consider there, but all of these are, of course, you know, lock bar axis style knives. So that is something to consider. Again, ultimately, the decision is completely yours. I think it's pretty unique, brings something to the table that is different, right? It's also very narrow when folded. So if you look at the carry profile thickness against something like the Pyrite, maybe just a tad bit thicker, right? Maybe something next to the Vision FG, maybe just about right on par with the FG. And then the carry profile, length and height is going to be also pretty streamlined, right? Pretty narrow for the most part. Something like the Vision FG is going to be a little bit, right, wider. The Pyrite is going to be a little bit wider. So still carrying a very elegant, narrow design, maybe something more so along the lines of the Raccoon right there, right? You guys be the judge. There's that Chad folded up, okay? And I don't know, let's just throw the Django in here for figure measure. But yeah, there you have it, guys. That is the Piratech Kraken, right? I still think, you know, this is a pretty cool knife, right? Price aside, you know, I'm really excited for what their future looks like, right? What new models are they going to come up with? What other options or I guess innovations are they going to bring to the knife scene, right? It was really refreshing to have magnetic scales. That's pretty neat, right? I don't know, I'm sure wondering why it took companies so long to do so, but I'm glad they did. And the only other thing to keep in mind that I just remember is the fact that this thing is very attractive to steel. Right, so you could, I mean, it is very, see, it just wanted to stick to the steel here on this 14C28N. So there's that. Also was trying to get itself attached to my measuring tape. But yeah, other than that, something to keep in mind if you work somewhere where there are lots of metal shavings, you know, I can't help but to think about Duty's daggers. He's a welder, and you know, I remember one of his videos, he was talking about how he can't do magnetic knives because that attracts metal, right? Metal shavings as a welder, right? You kind of sort of understand and know your profession, what you can and can't use. So again, this knife and every other knife will be linked in the description for you to check it out. It does help out the channel when you use those links, but that is entirely up to you. That being said, guys, let me know if I missed anything, right? Anything else that I missed, any other observations, feedback, concerns, comments on anything, let me know. Let's hang out in the comment section down there. Let's have a discussion about this knife. If you made it to the end, you guys are the real MVPs. If you're still here, right, at this point in the video, I really appreciate and love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me until the end. Really means a ton to me. Smash that like button if you haven't already, because I mean, you already made it to this point here. I mean, might as well. It's free. Helps out the channel reach a larger audience. If you like content like this on a daily basis, I make content like this all the time. So please consider subscribing. And if you want to support the channel a step further, there's a link for Patreon down below where you can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. Or you can simply support the channel right here on YouTube by becoming a channel member. You'll get access to exclusive perks. That's been it for me, guys. Pleasure hanging out with you throughout this video. Really appreciate your help and support with the channel. We're almost 5,000 subscribers strong, at least as of the time of recording this video, which I really am excited for. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Love each and every single one of you. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.